Hi, this is Sean with ProAct. I'm here with Randy Benko, Director of Food Service for Driscoll's. We're going to talk a little bit about raspberries today. Why don't we talk a little bit about the seasons of raspberries?
There's an 8-month cropping cycle when it comes to raspberries. So typically they're planted in December, and your first cropping cycle will start mid to late July, and that's what we're looking at here. These plants were planted last December. They will produce all the way through into late fall, as late as early December, and then after that they will be mowed back and pruned back to where they will then produce again in the following spring. So typically in Northern California, where we're at here in Watsonville, that would be as early as late March, early April, and then you'll go through peak production sometime in mid to late June, and by mid-July, you know, they'll be all finished. So you have two main crops, fall, spring, and 18 months later they'll turn the plants over to where they'll bring new plants in.
So Randy, we talked a little bit about Salinas and Watsonville. Why don't you talk a little bit more about some of the other growing regions?
Well, in raspberries it's pretty simple in that we have our California production, and that makes up Salinas, Watsonville, as well as Southern California down in Oxnard. And then what we have the off cycle, which is October really through May, is out of Mexico. And so we grow out of a number of areas, Baja, Central Mexico, in different regions, to where then we make sure as we transition from say California to Mexico, there's an ample supply to be able to take care of customers on an annual basis.
Why don't you fill us in on different varieties used in different growing regions?
So from a research and development standpoint, we have test plots in all the major production areas we grow raspberries. So we propagate varieties by production area. So we have research and development going on in Southern California, Northern California, as well as Central Mexico, and even Baja for that matter, because each one of those growing districts potentially offers unique challenges, and ultimately through the varietal development side and is really where the solutions will come from.
So Randy, it's a pretty warm day today. Why don't you talk a little bit about how the weather plays a part and some of the challenges with raspberries?
Yeah, being under this hoop, it's certainly, you can feel the heat coming down on top of us. And it's very interesting because heat is very much a real challenge around raspberries. And it's very interesting when you get in severe heat. One of the things a raspberry plant does that's a little unique is it actually does not release the fruit. And so if anything, the receptacle that a raspberry grows on seems to want to hang on. And I think it's kind of a defense mechanism of the plant. And so typically what we see when it gets severely hot is we won't lose production due to necessarily quality, but the plants themselves will not release the fruit. So it makes it harder on the picker themselves.
What are some of the other challenges you face with raspberries?
Well, like with all the berries, one of the common denominators is labor. And one of the unique aspects of raspberries is they need to be picked every other day on a consistent basis. So that requires harvesting on a 7-day cycle, where strawberries are harvested over a 6-day cycle. One of the other challenges is, as you get into peak production, is having enough people there to be able to harvest the crop. And one of the things that we hope for every year is that we don't have competing peaks, and that strawberries, raspberries, blackberries all peak at the same time, to where we become somewhat competitive with whatever resources are available from a labor standpoint.
Hey Randy, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Sean, for taking the time to come visit us in a beautiful raspberry field and talk about future production in raspberries.
Absolutely. And guys, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to ProAct. See you next time.